Okay, I think we got everybody. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It is 7:15 p.m. We'll reconvene from closed meeting. We'll go to item 4. Board protocol will be read by myself, Board President. The Board of Trustees of LaPorte Independent School District is now convened. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. Every student's success is our number one priority. As the LaPorte ISD Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, adopt policy, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and communicate the district's vision and success to the community. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. School board meetings are open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. Audience participation is limited to the patron presentation portion of the meeting. Board members may not respond to the public comment section. These proceedings may be recorded, and I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. Thank you for taking time this evening to join us and for your interest in LaPorte Independent School District. At this time, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you join me in the pledge to the United States flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Tonight, the invocation will be given by Miss Deanne Thompson, Board Vice President.
Good evening. If you'll bow your heads with me, please. Lord, we come to you today with our hearts open for your guidance as we operate the business of our district. Heavenly Father, we are grieving the loss of a beloved LPISD staff member, and we are hurting. Please help us through this. I fervently ask that the peace that only you can provide be given to his family and friends. Heavenly Father, please continue to bless our students, our staff, and our community, and grant safe travels for everyone in attendance this evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll go to item 5, board recognitions. We'll start with A, performance by Leo A. Rizzuto elementary students.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. Thank you, my parents who brought these boys and girls, these WADA students. Hey, Scarlett, scoot up, y'all scoot a little bit, James. I know many of us were waiting on This Is Us, so we're going to try to make it fast. James, keep going, keep going. They're mesmerized. They've not sung for anybody watching yet, so. All right. So these boys and girls, they're a third of our boys and girls who are going to be in a Valentine's program Monday, and for Valentine's Day. And this is one of their songs that they're going to talk about whether we should make Valentines for our pets or not. Okay. So we'll let Ellie go first here.
I made my doll a Valentine. She sniffed it very hard, then chewed on it a little while and left in the yard. I made one for my parakeet, a pretty paper heart. He pulled it with his claws and made me feel it with his heart. I made one for my turtle. All I did was get it right. I wonder if making Valentine's is wasted on a pet.
And forgive me, the good piano didn't fit my heart.
Thank you. What a wonderful performance. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Leary Rizzuto. What a wonderful performance. That's awesome.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome. We have quite a few recognitions this evening, and we're going to start out with some early graduates, but they finished the requirements at the Academy of Viola DeWalt High School, and now Mr. Jesse Loudermilk will take care of the rest.
We just want to recognize our early graduates who worked really hard to complete all the requirements. They're gonna walk in May with our ceremony, but we wanted to take the time tonight. Thank you, family members. Thank you, parents, for showing up and supporting these kiddos. When I call your name, come up and get your certificate. Mary Owensett. And we've got Carly Ward. And we also want to recognize we had two more, Diamond Zamora, she couldn't be here tonight, and Alicia McDaniel. So those are our four early graduates.
Congratulations. Now we move on to our You Make a Difference Awards, and the name of this award is fairly self-explanatory. It's awarded to people who go above and beyond on a regular basis and truly make a difference. And we'll start out tonight. For those of you who have not been to one of these and where we've handed out these awards, I'm basically going to read what your supervisor said about you. So here you go. First, You Make a Difference Award, Robin Wilkerson, kindergarten teacher, Leo A. Rizzuto Elementary School. Robin cares deeply for the children in her classroom and works daily to help them reach their potential. She extends the learning of those that are ready, challenging them to complete research on a given topic. We are truly blessed to have Miss Wilkerson as a member of the Rizzuto family. Marisol Guevara, third grade bilingual teacher, Heritage Elementary School. Marisol is an amazing educator that faced challenges in the fall semester positively and with the consistent mindset that her students always come first. Her genuine smile and desire to help everyone is so appreciated at Heritage. Thank you, Ms. Guevara, for being a champion for your students and an inspiration to your colleagues. Kim Vasquez, Literacy Interventionist, College Park Elementary School. Kim makes a difference to the students and staff at College Park and is an essential part of the campus intervention program as our literacy interventionist. Ms. Vasquez meets with students before, during, and after school to help boost students to meet their potential. She is also our spelling bee queen. That's coming up here pretty quickly. Meeting with students to study and prepare for the campus and district competition. We appreciate all that she does for us. Diana Horelka, counselor at LaPorte Elementary School. Diana is a true difference maker at LaPorte Elementary. The support she provides our students and staff every day, and every day was in all caps, not only helps them to navigate through difficult circumstances, but ensures that they know they are loved and valued for who they are. Lisa Raimundo, Principal Secretary, Bayshore Elementary School. Lisa is the heart of Bayshore. Our office runs smoothly each day with her guidance, and our many events are perfect with her behind-the-scenes assistance. Thank you, Ms. Raimundo, for making a difference at Bayshore. Michael Perales, PE teacher, Lomax Elementary School. Coach Perales exemplifies what a Lomax Lion should be. He is a member or a mentor to many of our students and the person they can go to when they need help. If Coach hears that a classroom needs assistance and he's on his conference period, he comes running to assist. The family, students, and staff are blessed to have Michael at our school. Susan Roger, library aide, Lomax Junior High School. Susan is so passionate about our library and creating an inviting atmosphere for our students to come and explore books. She is always willing to help, usually at a moment's notice, and goes above and beyond to make sure our students have the tools they need to be successful. She makes a difference every day at Lomax Junior High. Natalie Melton, interventionist dyslexia teacher, James H. Baker, 6th grade campus. Natalie works tirelessly to help our students find success in their reading. She has a positive attitude and is always willing to help anyone. We are glad she is a Baker Bear, and we are honored to recognize her as our You Make a Difference honoree. And this final award is really two awards. It's going to two people. LaPorte Junior High athletic coordinators Keith Wilson and Amanda Guerra. Amanda and Keith have played an important part in turning around the culture at LaPorte Junior High. A focus on academics before athletic success was a prerequisite. Coach Wilson and Coach Guerra have had their athletes help in the community in multiple ways in a food drive, Blue Santa toy drives, and community cleanup days within the community, to name a few. Lastly, and possibly most importantly, these two individuals have fostered relationships with our student athletes and the other coaching staff this year. For these reasons, Coach Wilson, Coach Guerra, you're the You Make a Difference honorees for February. Congratulations. Are You Make a Difference honorees for February? Congratulations. Was it good? Good. Hopefully you all have been seeing our social media posts about National School Counseling Week. That is this week, February 7th to 11th. It's to focus public attention on the unique contribution of school counselors within U.S. school systems, and in our case, LaPorte ISD. This week we highlight the tremendous impact LaPorte ISD school counselors have in helping students achieve some school success and plan for a career, among many, many other things. And first, we want to start out with LaPorte. Well, before we start with LaPorte High School, Miss Cindy Anderson, who could not be here tonight, she is away at a conference, asked me to please let you all know that she really appreciates you and wishes you well. LaPorte High School, I don't believe we have too many counselors here this evening. We have lots of basketball games and soccer games going on, and a lot of them had to be there. But LaGreta Arrington, Jennifer Cummings, Robin Galvan,
Basketball.
April Hawthorne, wow, Esther Norton, and finally Brenda Sadler. Thanks, Brenda, you saved the day. The Academy of Viola DeWalt High School, Jancy Alfaro. I saw her here. Maybe she went to a basketball game. Okay, look, sure. LaPorte Junior High School, and I saw her as well, Jennifer Mushwick. Lomax Junior High School, Jill Howells. James H. Baker 6th grade campus, Catherine Stevens. Bayshore Elementary School, Cindy Martin. College Park Elementary School, Joshua Rutherford. Heritage Elementary School, Hillary McClellan. LaPorte Elementary School, Diana Harelka, who was also honored with the You Make a Difference Award. Lomax Elementary School, Amber Ziegler. Jenny Reed Elementary School, Dora Ortiz. Leo A. Rizzuto Elementary School, Melissa Mansfield. And finally, these three counselors serve the entire district. Stacy Britton, mental health trainer of trainers. Tessa Harvick, mental health counselor. And Janet Zabrowski, crisis counselor. Thank you all for what you do. Okay, last and not least. During School Board Recognition Month in January, Porte ISD was one of the winners in a Facebook giveaway sponsored by the Gulf Coast Educators Federal Credit Union. They're here tonight to donate $1,000 to the school district in honor of the Board of Trustees. Mr. Michael Berry, it's all yours.
No, I don't. Thank you, Adam. You said everything we were going to say, so I appreciate it. I don't really have to say much on there, but we do want to appreciate you guys on behalf of the credit union and myself personally. I've got a couple of kids in the Port. Thank you guys for everything that you do for the district, for the students. We know it's a very thankless job. It's probably been a very difficult one these past couple of years, but we really do appreciate everything that you guys do. So on behalf of the credit union, this is a check for $1,000 to use however. You have a real one too. This is not the
How are you? Okay, good. I'm doing well, doing well. Now this
Keith texted me, my mom's here too, because his mama comes to all the basketball games and stuff like that. I'm still going to hire him over the family.
you better not. You're picking out good
I
people.
would if I could. No, he's good. He's
I know.
perfect.
Which
Okay, ready? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another round of applause for our students and staff recognized. Thank you. We'll go to item 6, public comments. The board will now hear those who wish to make comments and who have completed and returned the public comment participation request. This section will be conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and board policy. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. Ms. Thompson, do we have anybody?
We don't have any this evening.
Okay. Then we'll go to item 7, administrative reports, superintendent's report. Dr. Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. President. My comments will be short, but we're certainly happy to celebrate National Counselors Week as we have just done, and we appreciate all of those folks for all of the wonderful things that they do for our youngsters and all of the things that our students have been through over the last 2 years. Without the support and aid of those wonderful counselors, many of our kids probably would not have made it. So thank you to those counselors that are still in the room. We appreciate everything that you do. and everything that you say to help inspire the hearts and minds of our students. We're equally happy to be in school last week. We made some difficult decisions last week to have to cancel school due to potential freezing rain, and we're certainly glad to be back in good old-fashioned Houston and South Texas weather where it's 90 degrees every day. The LaPorte High School musical was a tremendous success. I got an opportunity to attend opening night, and I was just exhilarated and just flabbergasted by how wonderful the students' talent and the musicians and all of the things that happened that night. For 2 years, I've heard about the wonderful musical, and I got an opportunity to see and hear one for myself. And so we're very, very proud, and we congratulate the cast and crew of our musical. And I sent them a personal note this evening before the board meeting, just congratulating them one more time. Our Lady Dogs basketball team is competing tonight along with our boys basketball team with their final, with our Lady Dogs, our final regular season game tonight in Santa Fe. Our Lady Dogs, if they were to win that game tonight, will be considered co-district champs, an honor that we've not held in several years. So I ask that we'll be prophetic and give them a round of applause now. Hoping and praying that they win that game tonight. Congratulations to Coach Thompson and to all of our student athletes and performance folks that are doing so many wonderful things. Congratulations again to our coaches and students as they continue to compete. The district is gearing up for our coming state assessments. Principals and teachers are preparing students through quality first line instruction, tutorials, and interim assessments to determine strengths and weaknesses of our students' ability. We want our students to be prepared for whatever comes their way this coming spring. And so we certainly thank our principals, teachers, specialists, interventionists, instructional coaches, you name it. We thank all of you for preparing and helping our students to reach their best and their maximum academic potential. Lastly, this past Saturday, I was honored to attend the elementary, and I may not have this right, Ms. Whitfield, but the elementary academic meets held at Heritage Elementary School. It was so refreshing to see so many students and parents, but students participating in the various academic competitions. Even more, it was even greater to see so many students earn ribbons, medals, and distinctions for their hard work. And there were parents everywhere, and we were just very, very excited about that. And then lastly, I'd like to give a great shout out to Todd Shoppy and his team for the first ever parent engagement conference that took place a couple of weeks ago, and we're very proud of that. Certainly we're going to continue to work on that, but we had many, many sessions and an outstanding keynote speaker, and we want to continue to work on keeping our students and our parents engaged in this process of partnering and working collaboratively with the school district. Great things continue to happen in LaPorte ISD, and it is because of our wonderful teachers, principals, support staff, bus drivers, nutrition staff, maintenance, and custodial staff. The African proverb states, it takes a village to raise one child. And ladies and gentlemen, we are the village people. This shall conclude my announcements for tonight, or my comments for this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson.
One more thing, Mr. President. Under the superintendent's report, I'm going to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Rhonda Cummey, to come, and she's going to discuss our budgeting planning calendar.
Okay.
Just real short.
Sure.
Okay, this will be super fast. I just left the budget calendars at your desk so you can see at your spots where what's going on, the timeline and everything. So the budget adoption is right now slated for June 21st. We have to have the budget prepared by June 19th. We have a June 30th year end. And we should get our preliminary tax values in April. So it's a fast and furious between now and June 21st. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, this is very standard. It's what you've seen every year. I know the new ones haven't seen it before, so if you have any questions, just let me know. And you don't have to ask now. You can peruse it and let me know.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Rhonda.
Item B, bond exploration update by Gallagher Construction and Huckabee Architectural Firm.
Tim and Steve, if you're in the room. All right. Welcome back. Like we never left, right?
Great things are happening around here, so. Thank you for letting us be here last week, to talk a little bit about the potential bond program for, either this May or November. You guys have asked us to give us a little bit of an update, or to give you a little bit of an update on potential design schedule and how that might impact the overall cost, and then I think Rhonda might have some numbers potentially for us based off what we talked about, so. Tim Barnes with Huckabee talked a little about the design schedule and impact.
Sure, I was going to let you kind of talk about that. I was going to touch on the next item.
So bottom line. Bottom line, if we started design early, which was what we talked about last time, we would save about 6 months of cost escalation. And that equates to approximately about half the fee. And so when we're looking at a couple of % per month of cost escalation, that equates to a significant impact. And so we can work on getting a formal proposal that of course would need to be submitted through the architectural firm and through ours to get to you guys. But after evaluating the numbers and the schedule, and of course, that all really boils down to how much time we take on design selection and specification selections and those kind of things, which we're gonna need your help and the administration's help on making some selections, so that can definitely impact the schedule for sure. But from a broad perspective, it's looking about half the fee.
Board, any questions?
Board, any questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you. I think Rhonda has some information on the bond, potential tax impact of the bond.
I do. So, based on the numbers they gave us last week in our meeting, we had, if we are going to do a total rebuild, the estimate was $55,800,000, and that is the largest number. If we put that with 90 million for other things, we're looking at somewhere between 60 and 90 million. We haven't tied down the numbers exactly, but we're kind of using both as estimates. The largest impact to our tax dollars on a flat tax base with no increase would be 4.25 cents. And that's at $145,800,000. If we consider a 1% increase in base year over year, which generally our base increases more than that, both numbers would be conservative numbers. It's about a penny different, 3.25 cents. And if you remember, our estimate for the 130 million on a flat base is 3.5 cents. So it's very comparable. Of course, the 130 million, 145.8 is 15,800,000. So it's not a huge difference in the grand scheme of things, talking about this amount of money. Of course, very preliminary numbers. Numbers will change as interest rates possibly could change up or down, anything like that. If we're looking at a November election, we're just talking about things now and projecting out. Any questions related to that?
Rhonda, just to make sure that I'm clear in these numbers, 90 plus the 55 was the 4.25 cent impact?
Yes.
And what was the 3.25? That was with the
That was the
1%
one-
increase in base, and what else?
That was no percent increase in base, flat base. That's the 130 million that I had been talking about since the beginning when we had just made a guess.
Okay.
We were talking about 60 million, 65 million and 130 million. We just kind of doubled it.
Mhm.
So that was the number that I've been talking about all along, and now this would be 4.25 if it's a flat base. So it goes up about 0.75 of a penny,
Okay.
3/4 of a penny. If there's a 1% increase in base, it's 3.25. So it's a little bit lower than that estimate.
So in other words, if the values don't go up,
Don't move at all.
it stays
It's for,
at
4 1/4.
But if they go up, it goes down to 3.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And as they continue to go up, it continues to go down.
Yeah.
And if they go up over time, more than the 1%, of course, the tax rate will be less.
What is our normal tax value increase?
No. 2 to 4% a lot of times. I can't even tell you what it is this year. I knew, but it's not in my head now. I knew that at the beginning of the year, but 2 to 4% is a pretty good range.
And a conservative range, right? Is that conservative?
Well, it's an actual,
Okay.
historic range.
Okay.
So if I understood right, is it a total amount as it is right now? I know the number would change, about 145, 146 million total?
Right, that's the max. If we do 90 million on the facilities, technology and stuff, and the stadium. Now, that's the max of the estimates we have now. So things could change, and like I said, it's very preliminary. But the rebuild came in at 55.8, and then the 90 million, so that's the max, the numbers we're working with now. Does that make sense?
And that 55.8 is before the escalation, which has an impact on when you could start design and ultimately start construction. So roughly 2% per month, that's about 12% that would be a savings. It's gonna, because it would be more than the 55.8 depending on when we start construction.
Right.
And that depends on when we start design. And complete design for that matter.
And when we get final numbers, we can do better preliminary numbers, but these are super preliminary.
I know you guys explained, I told you last week I'm an Aggie, so I am slow. But so we haven't given you guys like a directive in terms of like seating capacity, for example, whether it be 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. How did y'all come up with that number for?
We based that estimate off of 10,000 seats.
Off
And
10,000.
that's based off comparable projects around this area and other parts of the state in terms of renovation. Because remember, we did a cost index analysis between renovating the existing stadium and then replacing it where it is.
Is that comes with all the bells and whistles, or is that like a, I know it sounds dumb, but like equating to buying a car, which I know is not a great analogy, but is that 55.8 base, and then we get all the other wish list things we might want to put on there? We can foresee that being up, or does that include a lot of those items?
That's kind of based on the scope that we understand right now, which is the 10,000 seat stadium, replacement of the field and the 8-lane track and the press box. And of course, that includes all your project soft costs rolled into that 55.8 number. So it's construction plus your soft costs.
And if you remember, we allocated an allowance for drainage because we know the drainage is going to be an issue. So that drainage amount can affect how, from a technology standpoint, it can affect what we spend on those types of things. But generally for a high school with 10,000 square feet, or I keep saying 10,000 seat venue, from what we see around the state, it's a comparable project from what you're used to seeing in other districts, if that's a similar size.
Thank you, sir. I think the last question I had is, if we were to go forward and I guess employ you guys to do the design work, whether it be in May, November, whenever, if it for whatever reason doesn't pass, and hopefully if we put it on the bond, it would pass, right? But if it didn't pass, how long would those designs be valid for? Is that something we could bring back the next year and you guys wouldn't have to completely rework that? Or what's the shelf life on a design plan?
Yeah, right now, the current standards would include the TEA requirements and the current building code standards. Obviously, they change in terms of TEA, they change every so often. Building codes usually sit around about 5 years. So as long as there's no changes between, I think TEA just had some design standard changes. It just came up this past October. So those would be incorporated into the current design. Any changes, depending on how long it sits on the shelf, any changes that come about from TEA or building code wise, we would go back and reevaluate the design to see what changes need to be implemented.
Thank you.
And of course, the numbers would have to be adjusted accordingly in terms of the final construction cost.
Yeah.
Because as Steve pointed out, if it holds at 2% a month, depending on how far you push that out, that would have to be taken into consideration. Or if it goes up more than 2% a month, that would have to be taken into consideration.
There might be some soil reports that might need to be redone, or geotech reports that might need to be updated, but
For the most part, we would be good to go. Gotcha. Thank you.
Did you happen to bring us a design estimate so that we can make the decision on if we do postpone, if we wanted to start early, if it passes November or whatever, and we wanted to start ASAP after that, we'd have the designs in place?
Yes, those numbers that Steve shared with you.
So that was that's what I was trying to verify. That is the actual
we'll have
number
it.
that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, not the cost of,
Well, the design fee is based off the cost of construction.
Yes.
okay, it's on the total
And
cost.
so that's
percentage,
the total,
okay.
yes, ma'am. Well, the construction cost, that's what the design fee would be based off of. And then if you started early, let's say in April, for example, we would be able to start construction in April of 2023. And so that means you're saving about, about 6 months of cost escalation, which equates to about 12%. You would be out about half of the design fees.
Right.
Now, if it's something that we need to further explore, then we need to send a formal proposal that the board would need to approve.
What was that money estimate?
What is the estimate?
Yeah, that's what we're, I think,
55.8.
the 55.8
Yeah, the
was.
55.8 was the total of that. I think it was 46 million was the construction cost.
Yeah.
And so what was the design cost?
The plans, the like,
The
To
architecture.
start the
On
planning?
a hypothetical fee of about 6.5 on that 46.8 would be around 3 million.
Okay.
thank you. I think that's what we were trying to. we're
And
asking
half of
question.
that would be,
Half is otherwise, okay.
And so I think the board should also understand that fee is also broken out into different phases. You know, you have your schematic design phase, design development phase, and your construction documents, bidding, and then actual construction administration. So depending on what phase you wanted to take it to completion, so if you didn't want to take it all the way to the complete construction document, let's say you just stopped at schematic design phase, well, that represents about 30% of the overall AV fees.
Okay.
And so, if you took it schematic design and design development, that represents about 55% of the total AV fees.
Okay.
So it depends on where the board wants to stop.
yeah, so if they design through, because it takes about, depending on a number of variables, but, 8 to 10 months to design it. So if they design through the time that the bond passed, you'd be about 55% through. So that's where we come up with about half the
Got
fee
it.
by the time the November election rolls around. But then continuing on with the design, they'll be done with the design around the February mark,
Right.
which means we would start construction, because we put it out for bid, and select our, general contractors, and then start it about March, April. Now, depending on the district and the administration, how fast we can get selections made, then there's a potential that we could get that done and accelerate that. But either way, I wouldn't anticipate spending more than half the fee by the time now, there is a reimbursement resolution that you can do, which means that you pay yourself back essentially with the bond proceeds, once the bond passes and the financial advisor goes and sells the bonds, which is usually sometime January, February, following the November bond.
This is going to be, if it weren't, again, I'm not trying to foresee anything, but if it weren't to pass and we have to eat the $3 million design fee, and I think obviously the goal is to pass at a later date, but do you feel comfortable with us being able to absorb that $3 million?
It'd be half of that.
Of 1.5 million until we get to that point?
Right, so we still have bond money, so as long as it's okay to use
We could use that.
bond money, we just continue to use bond money. We have to verify that, but yes.
Just to the board, I plan to ask Tim and Steve to come to our next, and we're trying to plan it now, but to get back in front of that bond steering committee, that same presentation you heard last week. I think it's important for the bond steering committee to hear that. We just need to get through tonight, and so we're planning to have that as well. I want to keep them close and keep them engaged in this process because they too want to be able to have some input to bring to you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, board?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for letting us be here.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, we'll go to item 8, receive 2020-2021 Texas Academic Performance Report.
Dr. Wadley.
Good evening, everyone. I do have a copy of the presentation and a copy of the taper at your desk. So this evening, what I am going to share with you, not only are some highlights from the taper, but also some other required indicators that come from different sources. For example, the PEAMS Financial Standard Report, I will show you how you can access that. That's not actually part of the taper. Talk about the 2021 district accreditation status, referencing our campus performance objectives through our campus improvement plans that are posted on the website, a report on violent and criminal incidents on campuses, progress towards our HB3 board adopted goals, which you all are very familiar with. And then we will take a look at some specific highlights from the taper, and then I will conclude with some data from the Higher Education Coordinating Board on student performance in post-secondary institutions. After that, Mrs. Abrams is going to come up, and this is not part of the required taper report, but she's going to share with you all the work that we've been engaged in, along with our fabulous coaches that are joining us here tonight to improve student outcomes. So, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to stop me. Okay. The PEAMS Financial Standards Reports, the 2019-20 actual reports is the most current. Am I correct on that, Rhonda? Okay. So this presentation will be posted on the website, and where it has district and campus, these are active hyperlinks, and that will take you to the district 19-20 actual financial data that details revenues, expenditures, disbursements, the tax rate, and fund balance. And then when you click on the hyperlink for campuses, it will pull up the list of LaPorte ISD campuses, and you can click on each one of those individually, and you can look at expenditures by object, function, and by program. But it's not part of the taper report. So I'm not going to click in on that. Any questions about how to access that data? Okay. Next, the district accreditation status for 2021 school year. Well, districts were not assigned an accreditation status last school year, and the reason for that is because we were not rated. We did not receive, it was not rated due to disaster. The last time the district was rated for accreditation status was in 1920, and we were accredited, and the commissioner has suspended accreditation statuses until the 2022-2023 school year. So after next school year, we will get an accreditation status. And when they look at that, they consider your academic accountability ratings, which, unless something changes, we are anticipating occurring after the spring 2022 STAR assessments. It includes consideration of financial accountability ratings, data integrity, and any kind of program deficiencies as a result of our results-driven accountability. Next, campus performance objectives. Each year, the district creates a district improvement plan, and campuses create campus improvement plans. You all approve those each year. The SIPs, as we call them, they have performance objectives. And then quarterly, after you all approve the campus improvement plans, we conduct quarterly progress measures. And so we will have those available upon request. The campus improvement plans for 2021 and 21-22 as approved are on the website. They're just not updated with the quarterly progress measures, but that would be available to anyone upon request. It'd be very easy to give that. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Moving on, report on violent or criminal incidents on campuses. This is a requirement from the Texas Education Code in 2020-2021. The district and all campuses were free of any violent or criminal incidents. And these are really very egregious incidents. So we were good and clear on that. Progress on our HB3 board goals. As you know, we developed those last year. We reviewed the board goals and progress measures at the December board meeting. You graciously approved our revised district and campus plans at the January 11th school board meeting, and all of those plans can be located on the district website under our district, and then you go down to public notices, and all of our work on our HB3 board goals can be found there. Okay, so moving to the TAPER report, we did, as you'll recall, at the end of June, we looked at our STAR performance data by grade level, by subject, and so what I pulled for STAR is more overall, all grades, all subjects, and then breaking them down by subjects, and then pulled out some demographic data that we tend to look at and some other performance data. It doesn't include every single thing in the TAPER, and what I will also be sure to point out when it's appropriate, some of the data really is from the 2021 school year. Other data, it lags a year behind. So I'll let you know about that. Okay. So we were not rated, as I said earlier. We were declared state of disaster. There is also on the front page a district special education determination status. And the way that this label comes about, it is an integrated determination status that looks at some special education compliance indicators, and it does also look at STAR data. And we are, for the first time, needs assistance, and I will explain to you how that occurred. It is due in part to the State Performance Plan SPP Indicator 11, which is timely initial evaluations. So this hyperlink right here will take you to the TAPER reports for the district and the campuses. So let me do my best to explain this timely initial evaluation. So there is a specific timeline for districts to complete the initial evaluation status for a student to be considered special education. This includes initial evaluations that are completed between July 1st, for this TAPER, July 1st of 2020, ending June 30th of 2021. So what happens is there's parent consent for an evaluation is conducted, and then it concludes in an initial special education meeting, which we call an ARD, an ARD. So what happened where we missed this indicator 11 is in the 1920 school year, we started initial evaluations, okay? We had 136 initial evaluations. In March of 2020, we had a pandemic and we shut down schools. So from March until June, we were conducting school, but we really weren't bringing kids up to school to conduct these evaluations. That said, our special ed team, who do remarkable work, made contacts with families to have them come up. And you've got to keep in mind that pandemic we were pretty fearful of being around other people, etc. So we did have some families come up, but all 136 of those initial evaluations did not get completed by June 30th of 2020. So fast forward to last school year. They all got completed. These 29 just ended up being in last school year. So when they look at all of their data, they saw that Porte ISD, along with multitudes of districts across
Hundreds
the
of
state
districts.
who were in the same boat, they didn't get all of their initial evaluations completed. So what I will say is that the evaluations from the 1920 school year, all completed. This year, looking at evaluations that we are actively engaged in, we're 100% compliant. We haven't finished the school year with 109 evaluations. We've been compliant for the past 7 years. It's just the pandemic
This was a
did catch
pandemic
us.
issue. Yeah.
So, Dr. Wiley, unless
Yes,
a
sir.
school district has small special education population, everybody would be in the same boat, I imagine.
A great deal of them.
A great deal of them are. You know, I mean, short of getting a parent to say, you know, to like revoke the consent so that they could reconsent the next school year, you know, some of them may have been able to do that. And I know Miss Anderson is she's out. You heard that earlier at her T-Case convention, but they are so forthright in following the rules and acting on advice that was given. So, but you're exactly right. That's what I was saying. Well, how could anybody have even been compliant?
Any school district with a significant special education population. for
Oh,
sure.
amen. And you will see that we're a whole percentage point above. But so right now we are in great shape. We are compliant with the evaluations that have been initiated so far, and anticipate 100% this next year. I don't know if you have any other specific questions?
Dr. White, I heard a rumor that that the cases for SPED has like really increased. And
Yes.
Is that truly the case? If so, are we in a position to be able to accommodate all those extra testing scenarios that ARDS and things have to go forward?
We are, and I know I don't have my
Yes, we
special
can.
ed people here, and Jen, you were going to be my little resident special ed expert, but yes, we have contracted. I mean, what Cindy told me right now, we are currently 100%, and we've completed 109 initial evaluations, and that's just as of February. So there will be more to come this spring, but they're working very hard, but they are staying on top of timeline, I can assure you.
I know I'll open a can of worms, but how does that affect like the classrooms? Say that all these kids that go through and I don't know whatever percentage is actually diagnosed as SPED, like how does that affect our general population of students in regular classes?
You mean?
Are they, I guess what I'm trying to get at, they're not separated out, like they're all part?
No, we practice inclusion, and we have co-teachers that go in
into the
and
classrooms.
support. We're very much inclusionary and not pull out. I mean, there are some scenarios where kids may have some content, what we don't call it content mastery, what do we call it? Resource, where they,
support.
where they are pulled out, but by and large, they are all included.
But yes, to answer your question, the numbers are going up, and I think the numbers are not just going up in LaPorte. I think they're
Oh,
going
no,
up
no, no,
across
no,
the
no.
board. I mean, as kids are diagnosed with all kinds of anxieties and all kinds of other issues, that's going to continue to increase. And so we're getting ready to go through the budgeting process and staffing process even, where we look at whether or not there will be additional staffing needed for that. And we do that every year, by the way. But clearly, that certainly is a demographic that is continuing to grow.
Are we seeing it across the board, or is it any specific grade level, or is it just kind of all over?
Elementary.
More elementary.
I would only be guessing on that. If Cindy or Jennifer Upshaw were here, they could say, I don't know. Do you know, Jen? I don't, but I can find that out for you. Let me do that. I would be kind of giving some anecdotal.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, it's a good
Where that
question.
fits
I'll find that out so I can report back to you on that.
I thank you for bringing that up, because I guess when we go through the budget process of comparatively in years past with, again, just kids in general, that's a big tax, but when you get extra needs, that's a bigger tax on these teachers. So
Right.
if you can tell us like, well, in years past, here's how many sped we had, and now it's gone up 30% or whatever it may
Sure.
be. I would
And
hope that we could find some
you
more
bet.
resources to have more help in the school, in the classrooms.
And
Most
I'll-
certainly.
And
Yes.
Linda can tell you, and others here can tell you, it's harder sometimes to find fully certified special education teachers
Sure.
today than it is in yesteryear, when it's just it's a tougher certification to get for folks now.
Sure.
But clearly, that's something that we're going to have to be looking at. How do we support those students in the classroom?
Yeah.
But if not, so
and-
I'm saying that the teacher, like, so a regular, I say a regular teacher, a teacher without a sped certification is gonna have those kids in his or her class already, right?
But they would have
With
supports to
support,
come into
support,
that
support,
classroom,
yeah.
yes.
Got
But the person that goes into that classroom has to be,
Sure.
have certifications to do that.
And there are varying degrees of disability.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not even gonna try to pull it from the recesses of my mind, but you've got, you know, your learning disabilities that are very much included in the regular classroom. And then you've got autistic students, and then we've got students that have, you know, more physical disabilities. So they run the gamut, but Cindy has all of that and over a period of years, and we can absolutely show you that. Because what we are seeing is on the more severe end of the disabilities, that's where we're seeing more increases, as I recall.
Thank you.
So I'll be certain to bring that back to you all. Okay, outstanding questions. So moving on to information about students by ethnicity, you can see our subpopulations compared to the state. We have been relatively consistent with these percentages over the years. I think you all can see those. If you have any questions, I'll move on to additional student information. Our economically disadvantaged students last school year, 50% compared to the state's 60%. We likely had more than 50%. You know, our kids ate free last year, and so we didn't have quite as many, even though we had pushed, you know, all-out effort to get parents to submit applications. I think we've been at nearly 55% probably prior to the pandemic. And then this year, we also are eating for free. Okay, our Section 504 students, these are students with disabilities, but they are not SPED students, but they do need accommodations to allow access to the educational environment. So we're about at the state level there. Emergent bilingual EB, that's the new label or terminology for our English learners. That's what EL stands for. That will drop off here shortly. Quite a bit less than the state. And then students with dyslexia, 4.4% to the state's 4.5%, so pretty on par. And then our at-risk, 45% to the state's 49%. And those are students that meet one of 14 state criteria, and we provide state compensatory education for these students. We provide supports for them if they need that. Okay. Moving on. All right, here's some information about students by instructional program. You can see our bilingual ESL, 11.1 to the state's 20.9. Our gifted and talented last year, 8.6, so we're identifying a few more above the state. And then here you can see our special education, that we're nearly a full percentage point above the state in our special ed identification. Moving to teachers' years of experience, you can see beginning, we're a little below the state there. Really what this tells us is we have more experienced teachers. And this has been very typical for LaPorte, which is great. I mean, it's great to have beginning teachers too. I will say that one difference this year Years 21 through 30 and over 30 years, that's a new breakout. Before it just said over 20. So that's nice. It's nice to be able to see that we have 14% in 20 to 30 years and 2.7 30 years and over. So we've got lots of experience in our district. Okay. So we'll shift now to some STAR information. Wanted to point out that last spring in 2021, our district had 97% of our testing student body come in person to take tests, which is pretty great compared to the region and the state at 88%. So we tested quite a bit of kids, and and that's a testament to our families that felt good about bringing our kids to school. So that's wonderful. 1% that were absent, and the 2% for other. This was a small population of students that were virtual, but you couldn't take the test virtually. You had to come and take it in person. So they weren't absent because they were in attendance in their asynchronous learning environment, but they did not come up to the school. But nonetheless, it was significantly less than the state. And oddly enough, the region and the state was exactly the same, and I did double check those numbers. We double checked them several times. It's like, are you sure? Are we sure that's right? Okay, so let's get into some overall how our students performed in grades 3 through 8 and our EOC. So this all grades, all subjects. This is going to be 3 through 8 math, 3 through 8 reading. It's going to be English 1 and 2 EOC. It's going to be Algebra 1 EOC. You all are going to be going, okay, can she get all of these? It's going to be 4 and 7 writing. It's going to be 5 and 8 and Biology 1 EOC. And 8th grade Social Studies and U.S. History. I get it? Thank you. Thank you. I didn't even write it down. Okay. So you all have seen this before. We're going to look at it by the percent that got approaches, meets, which is the higher level, and then masters, which is the highest level. So all grades, all subjects. At approaches, the district was 75%, to the state 67%. And then you can look across at our demographics, our special ed, and our special ed students struggled on STAR last year. But we are, when Ms. Abrams comes up and talks to you about the work that you're doing, you'll get some specifics on how we are providing supports for them. Okay. At meets, all grades, all subjects, the district is 44%, to the state is 41%. And then you can look across at our sub-pops. And then at masters, we were in line with the state at 18%. Moving to all grades, ELA reading. Again, this is 3 through 8 reading, English 1, English 2. So at approaches, the district was 73%, to the state 68%. And then you can look at how our subpopulations performed. At meets, we were at 45%, in line with the state, and how our subpopulations performed. And then at masters, the state was 18, we were 17, close, and then how our subpopulations performed. In math, at approaches, the district was 75%, to the state 66%. You can see our sub-pops. At meets, 42%, to the state's 37%. And then masters, 18 and 17 again, relatively in line with the state. Science, again, this is going to be grade 5, grade 8, biology 1. 82%, to the state 71%, and how our sub-pops performed. At meets, 50%, to states 44%. And at masters, 21%, 5% to the state's 20%. Okay, social studies, grade 8 social studies and U.S. history. The district was 82% at approaches to the state 73. You can see how our subpopulations performed. 52% to the state's 49. And 30% to the state's 29 at masters. But I will tell you for 8th grade, this is kind of exciting. 8th grade in particular, at approaches, they were 70% to the state's 57. Meets was 33 to the state's 28. And at masters, 16 to the state's 14. So we made some really great gains in our social studies. We're very proud. Okay, writing. So in writing, the district was 68% at approaches to the state's 58. And you can see how our subpopulations performed. The district at meets was 31 to the state's 30. And masters was 8% to the state's 9%. I don't know if you remember me sharing this in the summer. So this is grades 4 and 7 writing. There will be no more standalone writing tests. So we will not have that. We will not have a 4 and 7 writing test. What's going to happen in the STAR redesign is writing is going to be incorporated into reading 3 through 8. So it's going to look a little reminiscent of what our EOCs look like. So we think that's a good thing. There'll be lots of opportunities for growth measures there that we did not have with writing. All right. I will move on to, attendance.
I'll just make a comment.
Of course.
Just for the board, because I know everybody's looking at that data, but it's a telltale sign if you look at where the approaches meets are, and then the significance of where those two are from masters.
Yes.
For the state, for any school district. And I just think that's a telltale sign.
It is indeed.
For any school district,
Sure.
by the way, where masters is and what is being required of the students, our students.
Opinion, for what it's worth, I think it's very difficult to have just a writing test in 4th grade and then just another writing test in 7th grade. You know, it really should be incorporated at every grade level. So I don't always agree with them, but I do think that's not a bad idea. Okay, pulled out some nuggets in this section of the taper, and this trails behind. So we're talking about the 2021 taper, but these are all trailing indicators. So this is the 1920 school year. So our attendance rate was 98% to the state's 98.3, pretty closely in line. Chronic absenteeism is a new indicator. It hasn't been reported on the taper, and it's an interesting indicator, because what it does is it's an unduplicated count of students who missed 10 or more days during the significant attendance accounting period, which is the funding period. Is there another name for that, Rhonda, besides significant attendance accounting period? So it's only like one period of the day. That's our funding period. So I'm a high school kid, and if in my second period, that's the period. If I miss more than 90%, and that's compulsory attendance. We've had that for a long time. You know, in order for you to get credit, you have to attend 90%. So that equates to 10 or more absences. So it's just interesting that they're reporting that. We have had procedures in place for as long as I've been in LaPorte, where students can recoup credit by making up hours, and it's not just at the secondary level. Elementary kids have to do the same thing. But even before we knew that this indicator was coming out, we were already looking ahead at attendance and in wanting to be proactive and remove barriers for kids coming to school. And we have opened the office of the Director of Parent Assistance and Engagement with Mr. Shoppy, who is helping us with these efforts.
So what you're saying is a child had to miss 10 or more days, or 10 or more periods of a day.
Well, for this instance, it would be just during that one period. Now, so take Linda Wadley as an example, and we'll say it's the period at the high school, like at 9 o'clock. I don't know if that's second period or third period.
It's third.
Third.
Okay, third period. So if I miss 10 or more days in third period, I would be counting for chronic absenteeism. But if I were, not a good kid and I wasn't coming to school, I could also have missed in first period and second period and third and fourth, but that's not calculated in this calculation. It's just a single calculation, one kid, one time during that significant attendance accounting.
I don't know if it's probably same in as far as Laporte, but like in Pasadena, my third period class, like we have 9:30 to 9:45. You gotta take that attendance within that little snapshot time window, and that's the one that counts as far as the money. 9:45 to 10. Yeah.
I know, yeah, I know, it does seem really peculiar.
And if they make up
Yeah.
the time, it doesn't help our funding.
Exactly.
You make up the time, it doesn't help this
Right.
statistic. I got you.
I guess, Dr. Wiley, I'm still trying to figure why on the chronic absenteeism we're 3 percentage points above the state on that.
I'm trying to figure out how can we have 98%.
Yeah.
Basically 10% chronic
Yes.
absenteeism.
Just that particular period that they do it. So there may be some kids that are chronically absent during that morning time, but they show up right after that, whatever that time.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Rhonda, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but our attendance rate, isn't that like over time? I mean, is that the ADA attendance, is that different from this one?
The ADA is
Uh-huh. Average daily attendance?
Yeah, so the average daily attendance is how much they're in their seats during that accounting period, that particular period.
Only goes during that period.
Yeah.
And that's how we get our funding.
And this is the first time we've started to see this, am I correct, Linda?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Now, if
yes.
they're here for the day, but they missed that attendance accounting period because they have a medical reason or something like that, they're at the doctor, they could go back and mark them here during that attendance period, and we would get credit for it. So this would be more like, they're either not here all day, or they didn't have a good reason to have missed that period.
Let's see if I can look up the methodology, but I
But-
can also get you
But-
clarification on that too.
But I'm still trying to see why we
Are
are
above the state?
above the state, because I mean the state, we're going to have same issues statewide.
Right.
I'm just trying to see why our numbers are higher than the state. I'm just trying to figure.
I'm really not sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
This is the first time we've ever had this, so this is.
Okay.
This is all pre-COVID numbers, right? So it's not really ultra applicable at this point.
It is the tail end, it would be the tail end of COVID. We went out in March. so-
It would include March, April,
Yeah.
and May, because we
20's when we
went straight virtual
Yeah.
in March of 2020.
Mhm.
I think that's important to see too.
And virtual, we could count them as long as they got on. There
During that
wasn't
time
an
period.
attendance period.
Right.
As long as they
Yes.
got on that day.
At any time before
Yeah.
11:59.
Right.
Right,
So
absolutely.
it didn't count.
And that may,
Yeah.
as you pointed out, that probably the virtual that may have driven that number.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does this affect our funding? Like, obviously want kids to be there, but in terms of
Attendance
funding wise.
affects our funding significantly. I am not totally sure how this chronic absenteeism, because this is so new.
Right.
Rhonda, you'll have to help me with that. I don't
Sure.
know exactly how that's gonna happen. But that was from 2019-20, so it's already happened, whatever that was. Am I right? Yeah, because it already happened, but we do need to figure out what it is that they're looking at and how they're calculating that.
Some of that could be related to COVID because we have a lot of kids that didn't get online at all during the day, on the particular days, where if we were open, they could have possibly been here second period. So that could be why it looks like it's 98% attendance, yet we have that chronic absence.
That, yeah,
I
in,
don't know.
in that one period, right.
I'm sure there are gonna be some folks we need to call at TEA to help give
Yeah,
us better
I'd be happy
clarity
to get
on how to better
clarification on
look at
that.
and get a handle on it.
Absolutely. Okay, excellent questions. The annual dropout, they reported out at grade 7, 8, and 9 through 12, and you can see that ours, it's crazy that you can have like 0.1. I don't know if that's even, it's probably one kid. But you want that number to be lower than, say. And then our 4-year longitudinal graduation rate, 93.6 to the state's 90.3. And when you go through the taper, they run all kinds of graduation rates. There's 4-year longitudinal, there's 5 years, there's 6 years. They've got federal, but every graduation rate that we have that you'll see in the taper, we surpass the state. So that's a great thing. Okay.
So people like
Yeah.
to ask us,
Sure.
what our graduation rate is. Which one is the most reliable number to give them?
When they do accountability, they're all reliable, but when they do accountability, the state will pick the best one. We selected 4-year longitudinal graduation rate for the class of 2020, just to keep it within class of 1920. Because, if it was 5-year, it would have been the class of 2019. 6-year would be the class of 2018, and how they do all of those calculations. So they will select the best. Is that right, Jen? Did I get that right? Okay. I thought-
But for the sake of taper, the taper report that you're giving us now, that was from 2019-20, am I correct? So we should have data from
All of
last
those.
year's. What about?
Oh, class of
2021?
21? No, we don't have 2021 yet. We can get an
Calculate
estimate on that,
it.
yes. Yes, because these are trailing indicators.
Okay, where does this 93.6 come from? Like, I'm on
Okay.
page 14 of the taper.
Okay, hang on one sec.
See if you can help me.
I can help you.
I know you can. I have a taper.
If I can find my strip. Okay, let me get this. Okay, let's look at, okay, on page 14, right underneath 9 through 12, dropout, you see 4-year longitudinal, class of 2020, and there's our 93.6 to 90.3. And then you can
Hold
see,
on.
okay,
What we have is class of 2019 and 2018. We don't have 2020. The copy we have. Am I wrong?
No, you're correct.
I'm like, am I losing it?
no?
You said on 14, right?
It says one thing at the top, and it's noted there at the bottom that it's class of 2020, 4-year longitudinal.
Class of 4-year longitudinal.
I think they've got a different chart.
Oh.
Yeah.
You don't have the right one. That's the 1920. Okay. We need to get you another copy.
It's okay, I trust you.
Yeah, no, okay.
I just wanted to be able to, like, find that number for myself.
Okay. Okay, I apologize for that. We will get that for you before you leave. Yeah, you have you don't have the right taper. My
Should be the
apologies.
2021.
Okay. I can let you see this one if you want to see this one. Okay. Okay, here we
Keep
go.
going. You're
Okay,
fine.
so the last couple of slides I will share before Ms. Abrams comes up. We pulled out some other indicators that represent our 1920 annual graduates. So the TSI, the Texas Success Initiative Assessment, is an assessment that we give to students either A, if they're going to be part of our dual credit programs, or if they're in need of demonstrating college readiness. So it is reported in the taper for both reading and also for math. But for this, I wanted to share with you all that these are the kids that took the TSIA, and they met the criterion for reading and for math at or above criterion, and we are doing better than the state. Another area that I know you all know that we're working on is our SAT. We have good participation because we offer the SAT school day. We are below the state in our at or above criterion. And among other things that we are doing to help increase these scores, we very much are intently working on Tier 1 instruction, evaluating and strategically aligning our curriculum to support SAT success. The high school and the academy also have plans for SAT prep sessions. We will administer the SAT school day, I believe it's April 13th. And also, we administer the PSAT 8-9 to our 8th graders, and we administer the PSAT National Merit for our 10th graders. And not only does that expose kids to what the SAT looks like, but it also gives them an opportunity to compete for national merit.
Dr. Wally?
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so the associate's degree,
Yes.
those students would essentially in this slide would be double counted because they would obviously have taken the TSIA before.
They may have, yes.
Okay, well, because I kind of look at it and say, okay, we're 6 percentage points above the state in that. So if you factor that out, because assuming those ones that get the associate's degree had got the readiness for TSIA, then we would be behind, if you factor those, exclude those students out, behind the state in TSI readiness.
Yeah. Unless they could have met, like when these associate's degree kids took the SAT and scored at or above criterion, they could be factored into that calculation as opposed to TSIA. If they were already college ready, they could have gotten into. If you're scoring out or above criterion in SAT, you don't necessarily need to have TSIA.
But you're going to hear from Julie Abram in a few minutes, and Linda as well in her conclusions. We realize we've got some work to do in some of these areas, and so even though those students with the associate's degree are doing phenomenal work, they're still our kids.
Right.
But we need to get more of our kids that are doing well on that TSIA.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just going.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to throw that question out for answer later when Ms. Abrams comes up. But like TSIA going through the revamp with TSIA 2.0 being more rigorous and everything else, and what we're doing to ensure the rigor and making sure that the students are prepared for not only for the TSIA but the SAT and ACT.
You bet. You bet.
Dr. Wall, this is This is really random.
No.
We had a workforce development committee meeting today at the chamber, and one of our community partners, I won't out them totally, but they do a lot of work in the district. But she got up and announced to our committee meeting today that Porte ISD, their graduates enrolled in higher education is at 25%. Obviously, that slide indicates otherwise. But is that just for Texas? So is it safe to assume we obviously have kids out of state? And
Absolutely.
where would I find that number? Because I definitely after this meeting, I'm gonna go send it to her directly.
The next slide is going to show you some of that.
Let me show you. That is a challenge,
That is a
and I don't know. And I'm gonna look over and see if I can find Carlin. Do we do that tracker for kids when they leave if they go to a university outside of Texas?
It's hard to believe I would argue with anybody, right? But we got into
well, it's not 25%.
a bit of a discussion about this.
It's not 25%. It's not 25%. I mean, now this is annual graduates 2020, so 56% are enrolled. But that's like a public institution. If they're in a private institution,
it's not even counted.
it's not going to pick that up, and it's not going to pick up anything outside of Texas. But it's not 25%.
I knew it wasn't 25%, but it was. I get offensive.
No, I understand.
If I say something about LaPorte, that's one thing, but somebody
Don't
not part
you
of
be
LaPorte,
doing
it's
that.
like family, right? And she got to announce this to the whole group and made us look like a bunch of rednecks, and I don't know. So it's funny that we have this slide.
It's hard to track it all, but we're going to try to make sure we get some of those numbers so that we have some of those things that we can share in large groups.
You bet. bet. Okay, and then one last thing that I have before Ms. Abrams comes up. Another requirement is to share, and this really lags behind, is student performance in post-secondary institutions. So it's still fiscal year 2020, but it's looking at the graduates from 2019 who attended a 2 or 4 year university and their grade points during the fall of 19, the spring of 20, and the summer of 20. And they're all averaged together to determine a GPA. So this would have been class of 2019, okay? I had to think about that for a minute. 2018-19 graduates. So what they have reported through the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and it is tough, it is difficult. It's a difficult thing because you can see 75 graduates at 4-year universities, 213 at a 2-year. This independent college and universities, I want to figure out who those 10 kids are, but they don't have any data on them. But not trackable means that there were kids in some institution, but their I'm going to just say their unique IDs don't match up. And then not found just meant that they couldn't find it. And then we've got DeWalt from the class of 2019, 44 graduates, 10 went to your public colleges.
But that's 300 kids out of 492 or whatever that is up there.
It was like 65%.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
not, that's right there.
very
I mean,
difficult.
it's some raw data.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. I'm going to get you the right taper report before you leave. And now I would like to invite Ms. Abrams up so she can visit with you about our 5 big moves to support student success.
Thank you for warming up the crowd, Dr. Wadley. I want to say that when I did this report for you, I indicated 5 big moves, but I wanted to, I realized that I should have amended that to say 6 big moves, because the first big move that happened to support what we're doing in curriculum and instruction is the hiring of the instructional team. So I want to thank you for that. These ladies are here tonight. Would you guys stand? They are working very hard to do great things in Porte ISD, and we couldn't have picked a better team. So thank you for that first move, and then of course for me as well. So thank you for that. But to your point about what are we doing in our department, or what are we doing to support the needs that we're talking about that we have. I wanted to put this in a way that made some sense to kind of group things together. So I said 5 big moves. So the first big move that we're doing is focusing and aligning our curriculum. So we've been working really hard since I got here in June, and the coaches were here this summer. We first identified essential standards to focus the learning, to ensure that we're teaching the right things in the right amount of time. We unified curriculum documents, and we provided that district support, and we've been providing that district support to our teachers to ensure that unified curriculum is happening in all the classrooms. Our coaches have been working hard to provide front-loading of units for teachers to, in essence, hit the highlight reel, if you will, letting teachers know here are some of the challenges of these standards, this unit, here are some strategies that are effective for this standard or for this unit, resources that you can ask, how we assess, things like that. That's been really helpful in planning for our content teams. We've also been working very hard on providing resources for teachers to provide differentiation strategies to support our special learners. And then we've been working in our district, in our department, to revise our curriculum management plan at the district level to ensure that our expectations for our written, taught, and tested curriculum are clearly articulated across the district. Move number 2 is we've been focusing on our assessment practices. Making sure that how we assess our students and how we measure learning is focused and aligned. Our curriculum coach, one of the first things that we did is we worked on common assessments for curriculum, or curriculum-based assessments, and deploying those at least twice a marking period for our campuses in the core areas. We've implemented some data analysis tools that our campuses are using with their content teams to really take a look at not only what is the data telling us, but for providing plans on how are we going to make changes as a result of this data. What are we going to do differently? How are we going to remediate? How are we going to, what's the action that we're going to do? As Dr. Wadley mentioned, we are implementing STAR interim assessments. Those are happening now. This is the first time for us to use those TEA assessments, but that's going to really help us see growth. We've not been able to predict growth because we haven't had the assessment in the last year, but these interim assessments will allow us to see where we are with student growth for that measure to predict what kinds of interventions we need to have between now and STAR. We're working with our ELAR team at the high school to do writing calibration on our professional development days. That's going to be a big push to really make sure we understand where our students are with writing and how we can move students forward with that task. We have implemented MAP data training to help our campus teams and our campus leaders use the information to help us understand how to, again, provide interventions and support for our students. And we've been having ongoing conversations with our campus leadership about that data and help to support the actions that they're making or the moves they're making instructionally as a result of that data. Move number 3 is we've really focused on instruction and providing that support, and these coaches have been crucial to that work. As I mentioned, that unit front loading that they're doing with campus teams or content teams is really helping provide that instructional support before planning begins. They've been working relentlessly with teachers and campuses, providing that coaching with those teams and individual teachers in need. They've been modeling lessons in the classrooms, and they're providing strategy support for teachers as well in an ongoing fashion. We are providing some instructional support trainings for our special populations and special learners. We'll be doing some instructional walks here in the next month with our coaches and our interventionists to help provide just look-fors and how do we ensure that we're doing the right things for special education students. And then we have some real plans for some robust summer offerings to shore up some things that we're doing with instructions and initiatives that we have to continue the momentum into the summer. Move number 4 is providing support for leadership. We have implemented the Leading Learning series as partnership with Lead Forward and to support movement into STAR 2.0, which is the new version of STAR. Our team, the district leadership team and the campus principals developed a common instructional beliefs for Tier 1 so that we all articulate what we believe about Tier 1 instruction and hold ourselves to that. We also developed common lesson planning expectations, so we're all on the same page in terms of what's expected for planning. We have begun implementation of PLC protocols to help govern the work that's happening in those content teams at the junior highs in partnership with our RSSP grant. That's been very successful in seeing elevated conversations in those teams with those groups. We will be providing some support with master scheduling to help ensure that thoughtful consideration is given to special students and how we support them with the master schedule. And again, those instructional rounds for specialized learning. Move number 5 is the focused intentional intervention that we're providing for students, ensuring that high quality instructional materials are in place for interventions. We've increased pay for high quality tutors. Thank you for that. We've been able to provide more tutors on campuses as a result of that from you. Thank you. The interventionist PLCs, we're meeting with our interventionists district-wide to provide some collaboration opportunities and some common planning or thinking and professional learning. The PLC protocol that I mentioned has been really great to help teams really think about interventions and, as I mentioned, those action plans from data conversations. So that has been helpful. And then just providing specialized intentional time for intervention on the campuses with special bulldog period, bullpup period, logo period, and so forth to help provide that time for students. There's a lot of work that we have been doing, and we couldn't have done it without the instructional coaches, but there's a lot of work that we still need to do. Some of the stuff that you've mentioned, Mr. Donna, about SAT support and TSIA, you're right. The TSIA 2.0 is much more closely aligned to SAT than ever before. And the way that we are going to move that needle is to really take a look at the curriculum and the instruction that's happening in those advanced courses with English and with math. There's some work to do there to figure out how is curriculum aligned to what the expectations are. So that's part of the work that we'll be doing this summer with curriculum writing and just assessing data with PSAT and SAT for the summer. But with these 5 moves and the things that we're doing, our focus is on continuous improvement, but most importantly, it's on growth. We want to make sure that the data that we're showing you today is great data. We are performing well in the state, above the state in almost every area, but the bottom line is we're going to continue to grow, and that is the efforts and the focus that we have in our work. Questions?
Jeff, I know you do, so I'll let you go first.
I'm
just looking for you. I'm just looking at you. Like, go ahead, Jeff.
So this is not my question. I had a couple teachers ask me about this, and so I've heard nothing but really like amazing reviews, and everybody's exceptionally excited for Dr. Jackson. You guys bring the team on board. I know the world we live in is that we have to essentially teach for the star, but I have some teachers that had reached out and said that. Not frustration is not the word I want to use, but they can't teach writing or social studies or science more than 45 minutes a day because they're testing only for STAR. And I guess my question is that common? Like, are we the only district that's doing that, or is that across the state, across the United States? Is that the world that we live in where that is kind of being put on the extreme back burner to only focus on STAR subjects?
I don't think that is ever the case. We don't ever want to say that we're only focusing on STAR subjects. We want to educate the whole child. We do have a unique situation this year where we have a lot of pressure to ensure that students are growing in the STAR subjects, and so we've had to attend to some of the new legislation that has come out to provide additional supports for students. That's put some additional burdens on campuses and finding time. We don't have that. We will have a robust summer opportunity for students to catch them up, and so we will see an alleviation of that next year. But I think that in general, our mission is to ensure that students are educated in all subjects, but always focused on making sure that we are where we need to be with reading and math, which are the foundation skills for everything that they're going to do.
So Jeff, and I'll thank you, Julie, because I think you've nailed it. You've nailed the response for that. I'll just add, and I've said this to the board on several occasions and just in my weekly updates to you. We have a merry-go-round of issues that are going on. And we don't want to use the C word, but it's still here. So a group of kids come into the system and a group of kids go out on protocol. A group of kids come in to the system, a group of kids leave, and they're out for 10 days or 5, whatever the days are, right? It doesn't even matter, whatever the days are. I'll even go further. A group of teachers will come in off of protocol, and a group of teachers have to go in. Now, it's not nearly as bad as it was just a month ago or 2 months ago, but the learning gaps that are that our students have across the board, whether it's LaPorte, whether it's Houston, Katy, you name it. I mean, all of our districts are dealing with that. We would be having a different conversation if scores come back and they're not looking like we need them to look. They're not where we want them to be, but thank heavens they're not as bad as they possibly could be with where we're what we've been through. So we want to send a very strong message to our teachers that STAR and EOC preparation is not the only thing that we want to see happen. But at the end of the day, the TEA is going to pull a lever at the end of the year, and there's going to be an A, B, C, D, or whatever placed on school districts. And our goal is just not to be there. And so are our staff, are they under a lot of pressure?
No, I'm not.
Do we all? I know you understand that, but I think it's worthy enough to say again publicly, everybody is feeling the weight of this. Everybody's feeling the weight of this. And I don't know that we're putting more pressure on people, but I don't know how to pull off anything off of anybody's plates because our kids have so many gaps and so many issues, and we're dealing with some. I really wish that we could spend a little bit more time dealing with the anxiety and the social emotional issues that our kids. We're dealing with that as best we can, but in the meantime, we're still trying to get them ready to make sure their writing scores are right, make sure their reading scores are right, make sure graduation rates and SAT and ACT scores are right, and TSIA scores are there. And if we don't focus on all of those things, some things might fall through the cracks. And so there's no real easy answer to that. Is that you see what we're trying to do? We're trying to show our staff how much we appreciate them through these kinds of measures, but it is a global mess at best. And so I encourage anyone that hears that from staff to encourage them to talk to us, because principals and executive directors and all of us are doing our absolute best to try to keep some of that off of their plates. But it is just something that it's there, and we have to deal with it, because I don't think we'd be having these wonderful conversations if we're having conversations about schools that are not meeting the grade, because that's the other side of this. And I mean, I don't know another way to articulate that. If we're not focusing on it, things will fall apart, and if we focus on it, people are stressed. So we're in a true dichotomy here.
I have one more question. I hope this is a better, easier question. So, and I understand that 100%. I believe the work you guys are doing is exceptionally valuable and instrumental, right? In a hypothetical world, if money weren't an issue, what could we do from the board or administrative level? Like, what would be your wish list? How could we? I know this is the first year, but what additional resources would make your life?
Did I hear him correctly? Did I just hear him ask
You've
for
got
my
the
wish
mic.
list?
I'm saying this because we talk a lot about bonds, and we want to build a stadium, we want to do all these things, and that's all great. But at the end of the day, this is the heart and soul of what we're trying to do here. So what, if we feel like you and your team are going to help get us to that end goal, what do you need help? Like, how can we help you?
All right, buckle up.
There's a lot of stuff going on out there. I see some nodding.
I appreciate that question, and I appreciate the fact that this school board is asking that question, because it's truly what we need is for you to know to ask.
Mm-hmm.
The addition of this team has been crucial. The amount of work that we have been able to accomplish in a short amount of time has been nothing short of miraculous, and they will tell you, they won't tell you because they're too modest, but they really have been instrumental in this work. The manpower is always crucial to what we're trying to do. You heard Dr. Wadley talk about the increase in the high-need students that we have in our campuses. You hear teachers talk about how they're tired, how their loads are big. I can say that staffing is going to be an ask, and it's going to be something that we need. I don't know exactly where. I think we're working on that, but manpower is crucial. We are working on a lot of initiatives for professional learning for the summer, for the fall, to support the continued work that we're offering here, and we're going to ask for money to support those initiatives, and I hope you say yes. Those are the kinds of things that when we say this is what we need, that's what we need your support in doing. So, people and money to support the learning.
I'm gonna throw somebody on the bus. I'm gonna get hit. But I would encourage you guys, I know you're new, to maybe even reach out to our education. We have a phenomenal education foundation. And so some of these things, and I'm not trying to speak directly for Charlotte, but as a board member, Melissa's on the board and Dr. Jackson's on the board, but like we look at funding programs and things that help the whole entire district, right? So we have special grants. Like we don't just do dollar patrol, right? And so if there's something that we might be able to help with, Charlotte, I think we'd probably love to hear from you guys.
Thank you.
Is that a fair statement?
And we're putting together, our plans as budget season is upon us, and we've done some extensive work with exploring STEM opportunities for elementaries, and every campus and every district that we visit that talk about STEM, there's staffing and money that goes behind the great programs that we're seeing, and so I'm encouraged to hear that we've got support from the board and funding sources to help make some of these things come true. Yes, ma'am.
My question is about tutors.
Yes, ma'am.
Are all the tutors that you're using out of curriculum, are they the only tutors that we're using in the district?
We don't
like
have.
if someone is tutoring, they're working for you.
I don't have any tutors.
Indirectly.
The tutors that we have hired are working in the campus, and the campus administrators are orchestrating how those tutors on their campuses are being used. The tutors are being used in different ways on every campus depending on the needs of the
So
campus.
the way it's always been.
The way it's always been.
So
Yes,
that
ma'am.
doesn't necessarily directly impact you.
It impacts us in that we are able to help support what kids are needing and what they're learning. So indirectly helping the work that we're trying to do.
Okay, I have 3 questions. I think I have 3. How much time are our coaches? I know y'all have laid so much groundwork and a lot of instructional materials and things like that are going on to get planned. But how much time are coaches able to spend in the classroom at this point? And what is your vision for what that would be for the future?
When the coaches came on board, we quickly realized that in order to support the work in the classroom, that we had to do some work with curriculum to unify that. I would say that 80% of their time is in the classroom. And that varies, of course, depending on what's going on and what's needed. In the beginning, it was a little less than that because there was some curriculum work, assessment work. Right now we're helping support campuses with intervention or tutorials as we do some testing, some scenarios. So there's extra asks of them right now, so it varies. But my expectation and what we talk about is your work is in the classroom, and so as much as you can be. Now, I say that also qualifying that with work in the classroom also means work with content teams and planning. That's part of that work to support what happens in the classroom. So that's the bulk of what they do.
Okay.
In the future, I would like to see that continue. I think that as we get some things in place to support curriculum this summer and the work that we've done this year, I think that will lessen that load for next year. But at the end of the day, and some of these coaches, they're one coach for 7 campuses and 60 plus teachers, and so it's a hard ask for some of them.
Absolutely.
So I would ask for more coaches immediately tomorrow.
That's what I was getting at.
Ask me first.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you spoke a little bit about robust summer offerings. Are those going to be included for special education as
Absolutely.
well as? Okay.
Absolutely. We recognize that supporting our special learners is a high priority. Some of the work that we're doing, just really trying to help provide differentiation in the curriculum documents that we're giving to campus teams and talking about best ways to scaffold instruction as part of our work. But also, I know that Cindy and her team have offered training for co-teaching teams and so forth throughout the year. And we're going to continue to offer more in the summer. Just how do we ensure that we meet kids where they are and bring them where they need to go, and how does that look? So we've got plans to really offer a lot of things this summer and at LaPorte U again.
And y'all looking at just general summer school curriculum documents as well, revising those as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, last question. No one throw anything at me. House Bill 4545. I said no one throw anything. How we talked about the teachers feeling, Jeff's point of the teachers feeling so much pressure. Dr. Jackson spoke to that. How much of HB 4545 is driving a lot of the stress and angst that are on our educators at this time? A lot?
I'm hearing a lot. I will say this, in the commissioner meetings, the commissioner calls where he's talked about 4545, he says 2 very important phrases in each call. Number 1, we realize this is a heavy lift, and 2, we expect good faith effort. And so that's what I'm telling our campus principals. I'm saying this needs to be those 2 things, but our focus needs to be on Tier 1 instruction. We can't allow HB 4545 to help us lose sight of what's important in the classroom. So to make that careful balance, we know where our needs are. We know what students need support, and we need to focus on keeping them in Tier 1 and supporting them in Tier 1 rather than allowing HB 4545 to set the house on fire.
That 4545, it's very difficult to try and meet the hour requirements for that. Because you got people in Austin that are writing legislation that never step foot in a classroom. I'm sorry, Chris, did I step
Preach.
out line?
Preach it.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, that's good. I agree with you 1,000%. I'm just worried about the angst that is causing on top of the closing the gaps and the.
It is, because if you've got a student who has not made success criteria on multiple assessment measures, that's
And they've
30
got
minutes.
hours times
Yes,
one, two,
there's not
three.
enough time in the day. There is not enough time in the day.
It has to be by itself unless
Yes.
the parent says it can be with someone else.
Correct.
Yeah, I know.
What happens
We
if
always
don't
do what's right for
like-
kids.
What happened if
What,
we
what,
didn't
what,
do
are you
that?
gonna shut us down? Like honestly, what would happen if we didn't?
What will happen?
According to our commissioner, it's good faith effort this year.
And we're gonna just do our best to comply.
Absolutely.
It's in statute now, and we're gonna do our best to comply. And our principals have done that, our coaches are helping. All of the folks that you have here tonight are doing that. We're doing the best that we can do with what we have. But I don't think there's a 45 police that's gonna come.
Okay, good.
I'm sure you.
Matt, be ready.
over there.
I'm sure you and your team are doing this. I just didn't see it on here on the slides. I know you put SPED instructional support trainings. Are y'all doing any support trainings for emergent bilingual students?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Probably GT as well.
Yes, we are.
GT, everything.
Mhm. Yep, all those things. And again, we're the comprehensive professional learning plan that we're going to put in place for the summer is going to encapsulate a lot of that. The addition of the 3 exchange days on the professional calendar will help, support that as well.
And I guess another question just come up. As far as curriculum documents, looking at that, do y'all pull a day maybe? And I know it's probably hard to cover classes with shortage of subs and all that. Pull in teachers from that, representatives from different campuses, from particular subject matters coming in and having some input and say about how the curriculum alignment, the curriculum calendar, and all that.
Yes.
Do y'all get to do all that?
They have it, and as you mentioned, it's been difficult this year to pull teachers from campuses. We have had some professional learning days where we have used some of that time to support curriculum work or planning for units and things like that. We have taken a few teams, of high need, and we have brought them to the table for a half a day to work on some things. TEAC's resource is our curriculum, and we follow that very closely, and they provide a robust offering of resources there. But this summer, we're going to take a real careful look at those documents and do some revision work this summer to help alleviate what we might need to do in the spring or in the fall.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have a couple of things. I'm very basic, so I'm going to
You're
start
good.
with a quick question for our campus principals. Do we have student or peer tutoring on campus, at every campus, pretty much? Do we have those opportunities? Is there a way are they partnering with our tutors to learn some methodology to help alleviate some of those things from them that maybe they can help implement? I also look at this as an opportunity to grow future educators. So I'm just curious of is there some sort of mentorship or partnership that we can do there possibly to help support y'all and go forward?
I think that's a great question, and I think that's a great idea that we do support those peer tutors that our tutoring processes and programs are aligned. As I mentioned, campuses control what their needs are and how those tutors are used. I would have to just get you the information in terms of how many peer tutors and how many tutors are per campus, and then give you some more information about how they're specifically being used and or how they're specifically being aligned. But I will say that the campuses do a good job of ensuring that whatever work is being done, whether it's a tutor or a peer tutor, that it's in line with what's needed on that campus.
Okay. Again, I just wanted to make sure, because I just remember peer tutors, even on the elementary level, where 5th graders are tutoring 3rd graders and different things like that, but also, the PAL program and different things where you could come into and help younger students with specific things that they needed. And I think that would be helpful across the board.
Absolutely.
But again, just as a support for y'all as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just thank you all again for your support, and I'm going to provide you with a more detailed list of all the things that I want.
Julie,
Yes.
could you introduce all the coaches?
Absolutely, absolutely. Would you guys stand up? So we have, I don't know how to best do this so that you can see them all, but over here in front we have Kelly Mules. She is our secondary math instructional coach. Lynn Moore, our elementary math instructional coach.
Okay.
Becky Jobe, elementary math. Back here with the baby, this is Faith Miller. She is intermediate math, or junior high math. Anna Fontenot, she's intermediate science. Carrie Brunn is all levels social studies, so most immediately we need help for her.
Yeah. She said, help me.
Dawn Gussie is our intermediate ELA coach. Meredith Halbadier is our K2 ELA coach. Amanda Lewis is our secondary science, and Andrew Broussard is our 3-5 ELA.
Okay.
Well, thank y'all for coming out.
Thank y'all for coming in on
Yes.
the work you're doing.
Yes. Okay. Board, do y'all have any more questions? Okay, we'll go to item 9, public hearing on 2020-2021 Texas Academic Performance Report. We'll open the public hearing at 9:17 p.m. So if anybody in the public would like to speak, going once, going twice. Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Do you want to read a minute? Yeah. We can do it. We can do it. Okay. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 9:18 p.m. We'll go to item 10, consent agenda. A, determine and approve any consent agenda items. B, approve board meeting minutes. Number 1, regular board meeting minutes, January 11th, 2022.
We need to pull that, please.
Okay, we're going to pull B1. 2, special board meeting minutes, February 2nd, 2022. C, received principals' reports. Number 1, Early Childhood Center. 2, Bayshore Elementary. 3, College Park Elementary. 4, Heritage Elementary. 5, Jenny Reed Elementary. 6, LaPorte Elementary. 7, Leo A. Rizzuto Elementary. 8, Lomax Elementary. 9, James H. Baker 6th grade campus. 10, LaPorte Junior High. 11, Lomax Junior High. 12, LaPorte High School. And 13, Villa DeWalt High School. D, receive financial reports for December 2021. E, receive human resources report. F, approve budget amendment. G, approve employment of professional staff. H, approve purchase of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC equipment and services. I, approve proposed LaPorte ISD new high school courses for 2022-2023. J, approve renewal and purchase of property and casualty insurance coverage. K, adopt a resolution number 2022-01 calling the May 7, 2022 general trustee election. Ms. Thompson, if you don't mind reading back the consent agenda.
I sure will. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, the consent agenda items include B2, C, 1 through 13, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K.
Okay. Board, call for a motion. Mr. Shoppy,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Thompson. We'll call for the vote. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to item 10B1, regular board meeting minutes, January 11th, 2022. Seek a motion.
So moved. Well, I'm going to change the motion, actually.
Yeah.
I move that we need to amend the minutes for the January 11th, 2022 board meeting to include as item 9B on the minutes. Ms. Green had moved and I had seconded that the board authorize a $10,000 appreciation and retention bonus for our superintendent to be paid in monthly installments. The motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
It would be 10B, right? Because it's on the agenda for 10B.
Oh, Oh, 10B,
I think
I'm
it was
sorry.
9B on the agenda for last, I don't have last.
Okay, yeah, yeah, 10B, but on that correction. Okay, motion by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Shopping. Call for the vote. Wait a minute. Okay, there you go. Okay, thank you, board. It is unanimous approval. Okay, and we'll go to item 11, action or discussion items. A, approve application for modified schedule state assessment testing days waiver. And I didn't mention earlier, the consent agenda was approved by unanimous earlier. The vote, so, okay, for the people that are watching.
All right. Good evening. Just wanted to come to you tonight. We're seeking permission to apply for a waiver for an alternate schedule on STAR testing days this spring. The state allows you to alter your schedule to account for testing. And one of the issues that we've always had, we test in gymnasiums in large groups. As you know, we're moving to online testing this year. We did it last year voluntarily. We're doing it again this year. In the near future, and I don't know the exact year, it may be next year, that the state is moving everyone to online. So that's one of the issues that we have when we're in the gymnasium, is we're trying to keep devices charged as much as we try. Students don't always bring those fully charged, and so it's much easier to do that in the classroom setting, to have power for access for students so that we can get that done. But also there are other advantages. We can improve monitoring when we're in smaller classrooms. We can, again, have better access to power for the laptops. We feel like there's increased comfort for students and better control of classroom temperature and so forth than there is in the gymnasiums. And plus, the classrooms offer a more familiar atmosphere for our students. So we feel it's a better testing environment. When you test in classrooms like that, it requires much more staff and obviously a lot more facility. So if everyone's at school, we tend to have to move students to central areas. For example, we use the B building a lot to test. It provides enough classrooms for us, that and CTE combined. Well, when we do that, if we have all the students in the building, we've got to move everybody over to STEM, and then you're using fewer staff members, and you're concentrating everybody in that area. So it becomes, let's just say it's not a great educational environment. So what we're proposing is that we have a late start on those days. And so what would happen is we would bring testers in at the regular time, 7:30. They would begin testing approximately 7:30. Buses arrive at 6:30, gives us time to get them breakfast, get them into the classroom, get the test started about 7:30. So what we would do is do that until 10:30, and then at 10:30 we would start classes for everyone else. I've talked to Mr. Marler. He feels like transportation is not going to be an issue. He can do a second bus run for all the other students with an anchor time of about 10:15, so they would arrive at the building at 10:15, gives us time to get them into the classes. Most students have completed the test by that time. If not, we can move students as we need to, move them to to different areas, and so we can go ahead and go with classes as scheduled. It just provides for a better atmosphere for testing. It makes it, I'm sorry I didn't switch this when I was talking about it, but it just allows for a better atmosphere for testing for our kids, and so we'd like to apply for that waiver with TEA. We need board permission to do that, and so that's what we're asking for. I will tell you that let me tell you the number of days. That's important to know. We'll be doing this 5 days. So April 5th, April 7th, May 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Carlin, do we have any data from the last, did we do this once or twice last year?
We did this last year. Now, last year we had the option of leaving kids at home and having classes, so we didn't bring them in at all.
Okay.
So they did online classes that day.
And the reason why I asked is because I'm just wanting to know, what is the attendance going to be like if they're coming at 10:30 versus 7?
So I anticipate, I will tell you, I'm not going to lie to you, I anticipate a negative impact on attendance. For the kids that don't test, I mean, obviously you see what happens on half days. when we release early. We've had attendance issues in the past. I don't know how significant it'll be. Again, we'll push, and we're talking about incentives for kids to come in those days, offer incentives to them, and also they're still accountable for attendance those days. So nothing changes. It's just the time they come in. So, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you it won't have a negative impact on attendance, because there will be some students that think, well, I'm coming in late, I'm not going to come in at all. That happens, but we're going to do our best to minimize that as best we can.
So, and I know the board's gonna ask questions, but my other question is, and I didn't ask this when you and I visited, because we have visited about it,
Right.
but I'm thinking about it now. So what might that do to that data point that Linda brought up earlier tonight that we were talking about that's new? The
Chronic absenteeism. Yeah. So you have an alternate, when you do an alternate schedule, you're allowed to move your attendance period for that day.
Gotcha.
You move the
That's the
compulsory
question.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
different, okay.
That's the
Yeah.
question.
Well, great question, that's what I was gonna.
We've done this in a previous district. We felt like it really worked well for testing. We're able to have 2 teachers per classroom, and that's much better for monitoring. It's more comfortable for the teachers. It's more comfortable for the students. Obviously, again, the power issue. Eddie's not here to talk to you, but power. We're gonna do the mass testing next week when we do the interims, and so we'll have a pretty good idea of what happens there. But we do know it's going to be a challenge having devices ready to go, and kids bringing them charged and getting those charged during the test. Obviously, it's much more critical in the STAR. You know, I don't say it's critical. The interims are very important. Don't get me wrong,
Yes.
but you understand that the stakes are a lot higher in the STAR team. Yeah.
And so, board, just for your information, Mr. Grammer and Ms. Tilley and myself met prior to all of this, and I just didn't ask that question. I don't guess I had thought about it, but we've thought about it, and I think it's a good idea for our high school.
Transportation was the big rub and the challenge, and Mr. Marler and I met and we talked, and he feels comfortable that, and if I'm wrong, but he feels comfortable that they'll be able to handle the additional bus run that day.
Well, I'm sure you'll do this, but I'm just concerned about communication and making sure that, these parents that rely on their children being picked up at a bus at a certain time in the morning,
Yeah.
now is going to be, okay, what does that bus route look like? What time would that bus be
Yeah.
at that particular time, at 9 or 10? Because that's going to be a whole different type
Yes.
of schedule.
Yes, we will communicate that, and I will tell you that if a parent, and we'll make this very clear, if a parent needs that 6:30 arrival time or needs that early pickup, bring them to school. We'll find a place for them to have study hall. We'll provide a space for them. That's not going to be an issue. We're not going to tell a kid don't come to school because you can't come later.
Also, the connection with Academy, the students going back and forth between Academy, they would just hold off on all classes at that point as well?
Yeah, it'd be up to Mr. Loudermilk. Oftentimes when we do an alternate schedule, we won't do the shuttles back and forth just because classes are going to be much shorter.
Right.
And so it doesn't always work to our advantage. By the time they get there, the class is nearly over. So they find alternate work for those students to do during those times. And our teachers can send alternate work as well.
Yeah, we won't shuttle, and we're not a part of the waiver. We will.
Right, do your own thing, okay.
Yeah. But the application's very simple. Dr. Wadley and I have looked at that, and it's about a 3-minute application. It doesn't take any time to fill out. It just needs board approval before we fill out the application. And I will say this, just so you know, just because you apply and just because you're granted the waiver doesn't mean you have to use it. If something comes up and we can't do it, we can go back to our normal testing.
Mr. President, I move to approve the proposed application for modified schedule, state assessment, testing days waiver.
Okay, we've got motion by Mr. Martin, seconded by Ms. Crutcher. Board, any further discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. It is unanimous approval. Thank you, board. And now we go to item 12, action on closed session items. I don't believe we have any. And so with that, we will adjourn at item 13, adjournment at 9:31 p.m.